for listening to Inside Real Estate with Kim McCarty. With over 20 years of experience, Kim McCarty specializes in the North Texas market and will guide you through the complicated world of real estate.
All right, it's time for the next episode of Inside Real Estate with Kim McCarty from the McCarty Group Realtors.
Awesome. I wanted to bring Jake Hansen in today. Jake's with Farmers Insurance, and I want to talk to you about home insurance and what people need to know when they're shopping for home insurance. Believe it or not, it is not a question I get very often about insurance. Hey, Kim, which insurance guy should I use? Believe it or not, that is not a question that I get. My mortgage people get that question more than me because they're hands-on in that process. They require it. Exactly. So it isn't something that I get very often. But when I do, I'm like, okay, here's who you need to call. You need to call Jake. Yeah. So tell me, when I'm looking for homeowners insurance, I know the majority of people are looking for the cheapest, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But obviously the cheapest is not always the best.
You're right.
Okay. So what am I looking for when I'm shopping for home insurance?
Yeah, like you said, most people know that the old adage is true. Good things aren't cheap and cheap things aren't good.
Right.
Also, you have to keep in mind that sometimes a cheap thing can be a good value for you. You just need to know what it does.
Okay.
So what I tell people whenever they're looking for insurance policies, make the price your second most important factor.
Okay.
But let's look at the coverage first, because at the end of the day, if your insurance doesn't do what you're paying for it to do, then why are you paying for it anyways?
Correct.
Right? Especially if you don't know how your part of the contract works, if you don't know what your deductible is or how your home's insured or is water covered.
Right.
These are all things that people don't know, and then they have a claim and then they're disappointed.
Right.
So to prevent that from happening, knowing at the very beginning, maybe spending that extra $10 a month might be worth it.
Okay. So give me an example where you might spend an extra $10 a month and it's worth it. You come back and you're like, I'm so glad that I spent that extra $10. Give me an example what that might be.
Great example is an actual cash value versus replacement cost policy. A lot of the times we'll see that someone has actual cash value on their policy, and what that means is for every claim on your home, the insurance company is going to factor in depreciation. So if you have a brand new home, that's not a big deal for the first year.
Right.
If you have a 20-year-old home, that could be a really big deal, especially when it comes to your roof payments, or if there's a fire and your whole home is destroyed, you could be sacrificing thousands or tens of thousands of dollars for a couple $100 a year. The problem is that some insurance companies don't really make it very clear on the quote part that that's the contract. Now, you get the policy in the mail and it's 100 pages long. Are you really going to read through it?
No.
I don't even do that.
Right.
Well, I do because I research these things, but for my own insurance.
Right.
So the problem is that if you know what your policy does, that's okay, but a lot of people are uninformed on that part.
Okay, so what you're saying is if I spend the extra couple bucks a month, if my house burns down and I have an actual cost versus a replacement cost, then you're going to fix everything for a couple
You're
$100
talking
a
maybe
month,
$10,
or a year.
$15 a month. Yeah, a couple $100 a year is probably the only difference there. Also, another big difference in pricing and a really big impact on the client's experience is the deductible amount.
Right.
So if you've got a 1% deductible on your home, a lot of people don't know that 1% is 1% of the value of the home. So let's just use some even numbers here. You have a $500,000 home, $500,000, so your deductible's $5,000. Right. If you have a 2% deductible, now you're looking at $10,000.
It's huge.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you compare that to the cost of a new roof. Let's say you're going to spend $20,000 on a new roof. If your deductible is 2%, you've already spent half that in a deductible. So is it really worth it to even file a claim at this point?
So you spend a little extra a month by having the 1% versus the 2%.
Because what that's going to do is prevent you from having that big
expense.
Big expense whenever you actually have to file a claim.
Right.
And sometimes, like I mentioned, you may not even be aware that that's happening. So you're thinking that you have a deductible that's 1% of the cost of the claim, or it's 1% of the cost of your home. The worst case scenario is that you have a surprise at claims time, and that's what we try to prevent, is so you know exactly what's going to go down, how everything's going to work out, so you don't have any surprises.
Okay, so let's talk deductibles for a second, because I think that is the one thing as a homeowner that you, when you file your claim, all you're thinking about is how much is this going to cost me?
Exactly.
So let's talk deductibles, because September 1st, they started a whole new rule where you cannot waive your deductible when you're replacing your roof. And since we're in Collin County, we replace a lot of roofs in Collin County.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
so let's talk deductibles for a second.
House Bill 2102 basically states that you are required to actually pay your deductible. Now, what that means is that they've just basically tightened up the verbiage. That's been the rule for the past 30 years, but there was a little bit poorly worded so that people could get around it. Some roofing companies would do rebating and some other things like that, which was not illegal. That was just the way that the business was run.
Okay.
The problem is when insurance companies don't have they're basically paying for that deductible because the roofer isn't just going to take a loss, right?
Correct.
So they have to figure out how they can come up with that money. So the insurance company has been taking a loss. That's why insurance rates have been going up and up and up, is that the homeowner isn't paying for their part of their responsibility.
Okay.
And it's kind of frustrating sometimes whenever you think about it, but an insurance policy is a contract. You have agreed to pay X amount of dollars every year for us to do all of this stuff. We're going to completely rebuild the house if we have to.
Right.
Your only responsibility is at the time of a claim, you have to pay a deductible.
Correct.
So that's how it's been all this time, but now there's actually a rule and also enforcement in place too with penalties.
How are they enforcing it then?
So the first thing you're going to notice as a homeowner is you're going to have some sort of evidence that you paid your deductible, whether it's a cashier's check or something stating that I paid this amount to this roofer. The roofer's also going to verify that they did the work by sending us a completed invoice showing that it's been paid.
Okay.
So both sides are now going to have to confirm there's a new roof on the house and I paid my deductible.
Okay.
Before, the insurance company would just collect an invoice from the roofer stating the roof was replaced. That was good enough.
Okay. So now, as a homeowner, I either need to write a check to the roofing company or have some sort of proof that they got paid the 1%, 2%, whatever my deductible was.
Exactly. And typically it's going to be a check written out to the roofer, photocopy it, and send it to your insurance company. That's perfectly fine.
Okay. So you don't have to show that it was cleared.
Good point. There might be something for that. I don't know.
I'm just thinking through loopholes for myself.
Hey, there's probably some loopholes in there, and we'll figure that out as it goes along. And like I said, this has been a 20, 30-year process. So insurance companies have figured it out over this course of time to figure out how we might be able to fill the gaps in there.
Right.
Of course, there's going to be loopholes, and not everyone follows the rules anyways. But we do want to make sure that we're doing our best to, because that's going to help the insurance climate in general as time goes on.
Okay. What mistakes do homeowners make when they're looking at insurance and shopping for new insurance or even renewing? I think that's probably the biggest mistake. As someone who's lived in their home for 15 years, we don't shop our insurance.
Exactly.
Okay. So would you say that's one of the biggest mistakes?
I would say complacency, whether it's whenever you're at your renewal time and you've got kids to feed and diapers to change and you just don't want to have to worry about checking your insurance. I handled it and it's taken care of.
Right.
Well, I've had people tell me that they've been with their insurance agent for 20 years, and that is awesome, especially if you have that loyalty to a company and a person, especially if it's an agent.
Right.
But the problem is that policies change over time, rating calculations change. There's literally thousands of factors that go into the price you pay.
Right.
So if one of those things changes, that might be increasing your insurance costs, and you just don't have any idea why. So the good thing is, when you have your renewal, your insurance agent should be at least calling you once a year to do a policy review. Do all these things still fit? Is the price still right? Does it all make sense? Okay, we're good to go.
Okay.
That's when you have that opportunity to check. Now, if you're purchasing new insurance policies, what you need to do is get, I'd say maybe 2-3 quotes max. I have a lot of people that call me and say, well, you're the 5th insurance company I've called today.
Yeah.
And that's not beneficial for anyone, because now you're just lost in the numbers and there's so many differences. So pick a good, reputable company, but also if you can find an agent that you have a personal connection with, either through a referral from your realtor or lender, those are going to be key, because those people have some skin in the game, right? If you refer a client to me, they're going to get the best possible service. I'm going to be working at 7 o'clock at night, 5 in the morning, whatever I've got to do to make sure I make you look awesome to your client, right? But if you just call 1-800-whatever, you're getting whoever answered the phone today, and that could not be a good relationship.
For sure. I will say that's probably one of the biggest benefits of having you as my insurance guy. I can text you and say, I don't understand why did I get charged this amount this month versus last month it was this amount. And you look into it and you say, oh, here's why, So I'm always on top of it, watching it. But I know as a homeowner that was with another company before, I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't paying attention to rate increases and why it was increasing, because like you said, I was in the throes of life and it was just too busy and it really wasn't something I was thinking about. So I agree with that.
And that's one of the things that I get a lot is I just got busy. Life took over and I didn't have time to do it. And that is a very valid excuse. I've got life too. I know what it's like. But the problem is whenever you go too long and that happens, the problem is the longer we go, you might have a claim in there somewhere. So then something might not fit anymore, or maybe your price went up and you called your agent and said, what can we do? And they said, oh, I'll fix it for you. No big deal. Well, now you might have a different deductible. Just things like that change. So double checking every once in a while never hurts anybody.
Okay. Awesome. Is there anything you want to leave us with that you think is important that we talk about?
Yeah, actually, one thing that I did want to touch on about filing a claim and choosing a roofer, one of the things that I get a lot is how long do I have to file a claim?
Okay.
With insurance companies, it depends, and that's usually our favorite answer.
Right.
But with most insurance companies, you have 365 days or 12 months from filing your from actually the date of the storm to file your claim. So if it was March 1st, 2018, you have until March 1st, 2019.
Okay.
Sometimes there's a flexibility in there, but that's usually it.
Okay.
The last thing, whenever you do file your claim, please do not pick a roofer based on the price of the roof.
Right.
Pick a roofer based on the quality of the work.
Okay.
Get a referral from someone that you trust. Your insurance agent is the go-to. We usually have 2 or 3 that are awesome people.
Right.
I have a number 1 roofer on the top of my head right now.
Right.
If I knew I needed to have someone's roof checked out, I would
That's
send
who you're
Jason
gonna call.
out because he's going to be the guy that's going to tell me.
Okay.
Right? Now, pick the roofer based on the quality of the work, not the price, because the insurance company's paying for it.
Right. But you still have to pay your deductible.
Only a little bit.
All right, Jake, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
You can find us at inodine.com. My number's 972-727-9705, and you can email me at jake@inodine.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for listening. Please be sure to share this episode with your family and friends. If you'd like more information about Kim, just go over to her website, themccartygrouprealtors.com, or give her a call at 214-662-9308.